Welcome back to our series on the history of the Jewish people from 520 BC to 100 CE. It's a 10-part video series by Susan Hares. This is the part 5 in the history of the Jewish people, the Hasmonean Dynasty under the Romans, from 64 BCE to 36 BCE. Let us begin to talk simply about the what happened in this dynasty. Rome takes over the Euclidean territory, and the Hasmonean dynasty meets the Romans and Pompey. Pompey captures Jerusalem after a 3-month siege. Hares is restored to the high priest, but not the ruler, and Pompey takes Archelaus and his 2 sons, Alexander and Antigonus, and 2 daughters and father-in-law to Rome as captives. Alexander escapes and tries to regain power. Then the father and his other son, Antigonus, escape Rome to try to help lead the Palestinian uprising. This family becomes a problem for the Romans until the Hasmoneans, all of the Hasmonean leaders are killed. In 55 BCE, Alexander makes a second attempt. In 49 CE, Archelaus is poisoned and then kept in honey, and Alexander is beheaded. Both of these are fairly honorable deaths for soldiers, so there is some respect from Rome. In 58 BCE, Hyrcanus II and Hares Antipater switch side to Julius Caesar. Pompey dies in Egypt, and Julius Caesar rewards Hyrcanus and Hares Antipater and restores the Hasmonean states and toparchies, that means sort of small towns of Lydia, control over a small set of towns of Lydia, Ephraim, Ramat, Thalim, and Joppa to Jewish control. Hares Antipater is poisoned by Mantius, who's a supporter of Hyrcanus, and Herod, his son, has Malchus killed. Antigonus II, the son of Artabanus, leads an uprising in Galatia in 42 BC, and Herod tries to gain into the dynasty by being engaged to Merriman in 42 BC. From 40 to 37 BC, Antigonus II is proclaimed king in Jerusalem. Herod frees. Hares is mutilated, so this team of Herod and Hyrcanus fail. Herod marries Mami in Samaria, and Herod conquers Jerusalem with the help of the Romans under Sosus, and Hares II is returned from the Parthian prison, but he's mutilated so he can't be high priest. Herod takes up a war with the Nafians, which is one of the areas that had been conquered by the earliest portion of the Hasmonean dynasty. And then there erupts the Anti-Octavian War, and it ends with the death of Antony and Cleopatra, and Egypt becomes a Roman province. So Judea plays both in its own inner wars and in the Roman Empire war between the various Caesars, Antony and Cleopatra, and Octavian, who becomes Caesar Augustus. You can see the picture of Antony, statues of Antony and Cleopatra. We don't know if that's exactly how they looked, but that statue sometimes. Now, as Dean Becker says, one of the interesting things is these are stylized, and so getting an idea that the Romans like to have their their features full and looking a certain way will help you understand that sometimes these are stylized. Now, Alexander and Erebus, the sons of Hasmonean and Herod, are sent to Rome for education because Herod now is in the good graces of Rome. Herod receives control of Trachonius, Bithynia, Artunius, and Zenodorus from Augustus. He rebuilds the temple. His third son in his two sons return in 20 as he's returning it, and in 15 AD he sent his third son, Herod Antipater, to Rome. He dedicates Caesarea with its changes, and then starts to have worriment about his throne. He has his two sons, Alexander and Arspus, strangled because he believes they're plotting. Antipas is named successor. Earlier he had killed his wife Mermi, thinking she had betrayed him, but she hadn't. He becomes increasingly suspicious. There's an uprising by Judas and Matthias that he suppresses. Antipater is again suspected. He's executed. Herod dies, and Caesar splits the kingdom among the sons. Herod starts out his dynasty brilliant, negotiating the changing political atmosphere, working with people, having a love for Mermi that is dramatic, having wonderful children, and then his increasing fears cause him to destroy his family, his wife, and eventually have no clear descendant, so that Caesar splits up the kingdom that is large. So even though he's created tremendous building projects, Masada, Caesarea, he is left with nothing. Well, that is the end of this section. Our next presentation will be part 6, how the Roman prefects rule, because the Jews decided that it was better to have a prefect rule than Herod's sons, which did not seem as stable based after their father's work. Again, thank you for listening. I will see you again in part 6.